Welcome to Q&A practice. Let's start out with the court. Ready? Here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will take our mid-afternoon break at this time. Remember my previous admonition to you not to form or express any opinions on this case, nor to discuss any issue related to it until such time as it is finally submitted to you for your deliberations. I'll see you back here at 5 minutes after 3. We are back on the record in People v. Black. All parties are present, represented as before. All members of the jury, both alternates, are present. Officer Meyer is still on the stand and still under oath. Mr. Zach, you may commence your redirect examination, sir. Thank you. You're welcome. Officer, defense counsel asked you regarding the question that you were put on notice that some of the people in the department did not believe you. Do you remember that? Yes, sir. That was regarding the 20-minute gap from leaving the jail to going into Yale Street. Do you recall answering that way? I believe it was after the interviews too, sir. Okay, and were you put on notice that they did not believe you because they thought that you were actually covering for Jim Black due to being friends with him? Is that what your belief was? I didn't understand any part of it. No, sir. Okay, when were you ever told that that was one of the concerns of the department, that you were covering for your friend Jim Black because you had left the jail with him and then he did not return for over an hour later? I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Objection. What was the nature of the objection? Facts not in evidence. Overruled. The actual phrase that I was told was Jim and I were thick as thieves. What did that mean to you? That I was just as much a part of everything that might have happened as him. That you were covering for him? Yes, sir. Are you covering for him at all, officer? No, sir. If there was a gap between you leaving, or if there was evidence of you and Jim Black leaving the jail in the morning around 6:55 together and you coming back to Yale Street Station at 7:18 or something like that, and Black not coming back for another 40 minutes, how would you explain that? Objection. Calls for speculation, no foundation. Sustained as to foundation. Can you explain it all? Did you have a discussion with Jim Black after you left the jail? It was brought to my attention that I did. Yes, sir. My question was, did you have a conversation with him? Yes, sir. You recall that? No, sir. Okay, when I ask you, officer, if you did or did not, and you said yes, I only want you to state what you recall, not what people are telling you, okay? Yes, sir. Do you recall having a conversation with Jim Black after leaving the jail at 6:55 in the morning? Vaguely, yes, sir. Okay, and do you recall any what you guys discussed? Yes, sir. What was it? My personal life. Do you recall what he discussed? No, sir. Officer, why is it that when the detectives questioned you regarding whether or not you remembered even leaving the jail, you told them that you don't remember? Because I didn't remember. And is it your testimony that you do recall it better now? Yes, sir. Okay, is that something that you would discuss often with Jim Black, your personal, both of you guys' personal lives? I had a life-changing incident in that time frame. Okay, does that have anything to do with you? Well, let me ask you this. Were you focused on that life-changing incident at that point in time in your life? Yes, sir. Thinking about that life-changing incident? Yes, sir. Did you confide in Black about it? Yes, sir. And did he confide in a similar life-changing incident? Objection. Vague. Overruled. You can answer that. I remember talking to Jim. I don't remember what Jim told me. Okay, do you recall him saying something similar happened to him? Objection. No foundation. Overruled. You can answer that. No, sir. Are you aware of the concerns by the department that there's some belief that Black indicated that he was going to go back to the apartment to you during that time where you were having that discussion? Objection. Hearsay. No foundation. Sustained as to hearsay. Your Honor, may we be heard? Sidebar. Yes. All right, you asked for the sidebar, Mr. Zach. Yes, I think the door's been opened. Defense counsel was allowed to ask the question, are you aware that there was an investigation regarding the 20-minute time gap period? Are you aware that the detectives do not believe you? Those questions were all allowed to be asked. I think that the door is open to my questioning regarding the same topic. Well, go ahead, counsel. I'll submit it. All right, here's the issue. I do believe it's relevant whether or not this witness has been accused of lying in the past, I believe it's relevant that he may have been accused of dishonesty and that members of his office or agency are out there, specifically internal affairs, because that is something that could affect his testimony, and so the jury is entitled to consider that he has been accused of being dishonest at a certain point. Well, the specifics of the information that may have been relayed to him may or may not be relevant. I was asked about whether or not, I believe the last question was that I sustained the objection to was whether or not he had been made aware or he had been told that the concern was NPD officers believed that Jim Black may have told this witness on the stand that he intended, that is, Jim Black intended to go back to the apartment, something along those lines. How is that detail relevant to evaluating his testimony? Because that's what I would allow it for. Sure, what the court has allowed is defense counsel to basically drape his questioning in the fact that he is being dishonest and there's a time gap where he's been missing, trying to pin him as the person who was the one doing the crime. That's very clear. That's the type of taint he's trying to leave on the jury. The truth is they're questioning whether or not he's being truthful as to whether or not he was covering up for Jim Black. I have allowed questions specifically addressing that. I've allowed questions. The problem with hearsay when it's being offered for the effect on listener is, well, you're aware of what it is. That's why when we have fresh complaint, it's very limited in terms of what we allow. That's why when it's for impeachment, it's what is the impeachable value of the information, and generally the inquiry is limited to the impeachment value. I do believe that defense counsel did tailor his questions appropriately as to you were questioned about it without going into the specifics of it. What is the specific value of, wasn't the question to you, you're lying because, well, what is it? What is the good faith offer? Go ahead. What do you believe you can deduce from this witness? That he was questioned regarding whether or not Black said anything to him during that 20-minute period. Okay, I don't care whether he was questioned about it. Did they say you're lying? Did someone say to him, we think you're lying because we believe that Jim Black told you he was going back to that apartment? They said that we believe, in so many words, they said they don't believe he's telling them everything during the discussion during that time between him and Black. That I've allowed. Okay, I would allow that question, but specifics, unless you have a good faith basis for them. Saying the actual indictment, that was you're lying. We know Jim Black told you that he was going back to that apartment. Can you say that as an officer of court, that you believe that representation was made to him? I know that it was not. Then I will sustain the objection. Okay, anything else that we need to address on this issue at this time? No. All right, you may resume your questioning. Thank you. You're welcome, sir. After you left during the first part of the interview, were you confronted by a sergeant, sir? Yes, sir. Did the sergeant indicate to you that you needed to go back there and remember a little bit better? The exact term was something like, objection calls for hearsay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, we're at the red light example. In other words, you will be allowed to consider whatever this witness says the sergeant told him to evaluate what this witness may or may not have done afterwards, but whatever statement he attributes to the sergeant can't be considered for the truth. In other words, you can't consider what the passengers said for the lights actually red. The only thing that's important is that the driver heard the lights red, if you believe it. All right, you may answer the question. I was told they don't think they're funny and you need to go back after lunch. Were you made aware of the sergeant regarding what they didn't think you were funny about? I don't recall specifically what was said after that. Okay, who was the detective interviewing you? In the morning, it was Little, the detective sitting in front of me, right? Yes, sir. Did you go back into that interview? Yes, sir. Okay. Was there also another detective there besides Little? Yes, sir. Detective Meyer? Yes, sir. Were you questioned specifically regarding your time outside of the jail with former Officer Black? Yes, sir. During that interview, did you ever say flat out you're a liar? No, sir. During the second part of that interview, did they focus on your time at the jail with Officer Black? If you recall, the way the question was asked to me was, how could I remember so specifically the incident, but not remember after the incident while at the jail? Yes, sir. And immediately after leaving the jail with Black? Yes, sir. During the interview and since then, have you had the impression that the department believed you and Black were close friends? I believe the impression was we were closer than we were. Close enough for you to cover for him? Yes, sir. Would you ever cover for another officer? No, sir. All right, we'll stop there, and that will conclude our Q&A practice.